Hello, beautiful people. It is me, Tasha K with Godeste, and today we are getting into it with a controversial and polarizing topic called balancing Black girl luxury. Now, I have been on the internet and I have been taking a look at what the people are saying. And what I have noticed is that there are two distinct sides of this conversation. We have one side where people are talking about the fact that Black women deserve luxury as much as anybody else. And then there is the other side of the conversation where they're saying that capitalism is gonna kill us, okay? And I'm interested to know, before we get into it, and really before, not after you hear the video, but before, where do you fall? Do you fall on one side versus the other? Do you find yourself somewhere in the middle? Let us know, because I think and I hope that by the end of this video, we can come to a more common ground where at the very least, we have a better understanding of both of these perspectives. All right, are you ready? Let's get into it. So, my initial feelings about Black girl luxury were absolutely coming from a space as a financial coach where I wanted my clients focused on putting money in the bank versus spending money on things and experiences. And I'm not gonna lie, I have had a bitterness in my heart and in my spirit towards the Black girl luxury movement, because there are times where I felt that it was superficial and that it wasn't necessarily getting to the roots of Black women's worthiness, right? So in my mind, when we're talking about luxury and we're talking about material things or modern conveniences, the part that gets missed is the type of sacrifice that is required for people who are 400 years behind their peers. In a lot of ways, I really didn't see Black girl luxury as a needed part of the conversation of Black women's achievement. And that's just where I stood. And there was a little bit of judgment, right? I remember I was talking to my sister one day, and I told y'all before, she likes to spend money on things. You know, we grew up in a similar environment, but we had different responses to the different experiences that we had. My reaction was to hunker down and to save because I never wanted to experience lack or scarcity again. And her reaction to that was to give herself all of the things that she felt she deserved from the very beginning that she wasn't necessarily able to have. And so I was having a conversation with her about Black girl luxury, and I'm just like, girl, like, save your money. You don't need this and you don't need that. And she just said, Tasha, everybody can't be like you. And what I realized in her getting her little attitude was that my job as a financial coach is not to tell people what they want. My job is not to tell people what they should do. My job as a financial coach is to illuminate the options available, to help people understand their why and their values, and to give them the space to choose their financial destiny from there. And when I started looking at it from that perspective, I think that things started to shift for me. And the judgment that I had, it started to dissipate a little bit. And last week, I went on social media and I decided that instead of being judgmental, that I was gonna get curious about what Black girl luxury meant to Black women. And as I asked the question, I'm going to be honest, I was surprised by a lot of the answers that I was getting. Now, I did use ChatGPT to help me filter the answers. And the reason that I did that is because when you are interacting with somebody and you already have a presupposed idea of something, it creates a filter for how you see what they're saying and how you listen to them. So when I got their responses, I took their responses and I put them into ChatGPT. And I asked ChatGPT to share with me, what do you think this person values? And the things that it spat back at me were not things that I would have initially considered about Black girl luxury. And it shared things like comfort, and it shared things like convenience. But the part that I would have missed was the intentionality, right? How people are intentionally looking for ways to improve and beautify their lives. But the more important thing that I would have missed, that it came back multiple times, that I would have never saw for myself, was authenticity. Whew, authenticity. That for people, for Black women who are looking to experience Black girl luxury, that for them, one of their values is often authenticity. And as I was looking at these responses, the thing that really struck me was that people aren't over here talking about buying Rolls Royces and mansions and all this outrageous stuff. People were asking for rest and relaxation and convenience and ease. And we look at that and we find a way to say there's a problem with that. And we push back against it. And the thing that we have to ask ourselves is why? And in really doing the research, because I think that anything worth talking about authoritatively is worth researching. And in doing the research and in asking the questions, what I have discovered is that one of the reasons that we have an issue with Black girl luxury is because Black people have doubts about how we should be engaging with consumerism overall. Now, it's interesting that this question is so heightened when it comes to Black girl luxury, because when people are spending money on Jordans, well, yeah, it comes into play then too. To be honest, they're like, rich people don't spend money on things like that. Like, oh, really? How many rich people do you know? I'll wait. So the question of how do Black people engage in a system that continuously oppresses them and has from the very beginning? And then we adopt it and then we call it luxury. And for the people who are looking at it with the side eye, right, they are wondering, how do we engage and resist? Right? If we want to be able to have a place in this society that demands equality, a part of that has to include resisting some of the parts of the dominant discourse, which capitalism is just such a major part of. But the other side of that equation is people who we're all participating in capitalism in one form or other, and then the question becomes, I didn't create this system, so why are you looking at me to be the one who dismantles it when I'm just trying to enjoy my Stanley Cup? I'm just trying to enjoy my Uggs. I just want to be able to have nice things in my home, and you want me to think about the struggle that we have endured for the past 400 years. Why are you putting that burden on my shoulder? Because I believe that I should be able to experience luxury. And at the end of the day, I really understand both perspectives. But I think the real relevant question comes down to, what is it that you value? So if we take this word luxury away and we start looking at deep down, what do I want for myself and my life? And we start looking at, how do I want to feel in this experience that I'm having? And we don't get caught up on some of the things that people can get caught up on when we say the word luxury, because sometimes I don't even think that's what we mean, right? We're not necessarily just talking about designer. You know, if we're looking at, a lot of times you think luxury vehicle, those are the vehicles that break down the most. Those aren't the vehicles that are the most reliable. They're not even the vehicles that look the best all the time. When you look at, you know, a name brand, this might not be something that has the best material. It might not be something that is of the highest quality. So when we're looking at this conversation, if we start with our values and say, okay, what is it that you really want? Are you saying that you deserve the finest fabrics? Are you saying that you deserve the most reliable things? And if you start looking at it from that perspective, and the opinions of everybody else starts to move out of the conversation. And now it's not a matter of status, but it's a matter of personal joy and choice. And when we look at it that way, it's really hard to start to judge people for the choices that they make, for the decisions that they make for themselves, for the things that they want to do, for the places that they want to go. And for all of us, I think that we should begin to interrogate this idea. What is luxury? And if we begin to define that for ourselves, even for me right now, I'm interrogating, what does it mean for me to have the life that I want? Not just the life that everybody else has, not doing what everybody else is doing. And it's a little bit harder when you don't have a guidepost, right? When you say Black girl luxury, it's easier because there's a bit of a guidepost there, because you can search luxury. You can't search the desires of Tasha's heart and have something pop up. That's something that you really got to sit with. You really got to know yourself. You really got to be aware. You can't substitute other people's praise now for what is really going on inside of you, even though that probably would have been a little bit easier. So at the end of the day, when we start thinking about Black girl luxury, I want to say that all of you, everybody, Black women and everybody, what you deserve is the desires of your heart. That's what I believe you really deserve. And if the wording luxury falls into there, you can interrogate that for yourself and see what it is that you really want. Because whether or not you deserve it is never in question. And if there are people who are trying to have you wonder if you deserve this or if you deserve that, ignore them. Because this is not a communal conversation. This is an individual opportunity for you to get aligned with the things that you want. The hard part is letting that programming fall away, getting the marketing out of your eye so that you can begin to develop an intimate relationship with yourself and with what you want. So my honest recommendation for people who are looking at no matter which side of the conversation that you fall on, you don't have to put the entire burden of society on your shoulders when it comes to what you want. Just have that in your values and let it play out as it does. Let yourself have your joy because you deserve it. And so with that being said, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders because I have finally given the insight on my true thoughts about Black girl luxury. And I think that this conversation is so important in 2024 because the way that Black women spend their money determines the rise and fall of entire industries. We can decide which industries do well. We can decide which businesses we do well. We can decide what we want to fund and who we want to fund and how we want to fund it. If you look at what happened during the pandemic when people weren't going outside and they weren't spending money, the economy was in shambles. If you look at Starbucks right now, people are not spending money with them, baby. They are in shambles. Don't ever for a second let anybody make you think that your dollars don't matter. It's the best vote that you have at your disposal. So thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure doing this video with you guys today. Make sure that you stay tuned for our next video where we're going to be getting into more financial topics that will help you stay focused and locked in for 2024.